Hi guys, it's Connie here from Say It With Simplicity, and I'm back in Silhouette Studio today for another tutorial. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different and creating a Christmas card cut file that you can use for your paper crafting and making your own Christmas card. Now this is just a really simple design, and it sort of has this little three-element thing going on here with the trees, and there's certainly things that you could do on your own, learning skills in Silhouette Studio, and then just change that up a little bit if you want to. I like to send out a few Christmas cards. I know a lot of people don't anymore, but I think sending a homemade one is one of the things that I really like to do. It's because then it's just something special that they're not going, the person that gets it isn't going to find somewhere else. And it's just a way for you to reach out with your creativity and make something special for your home and family. I'm going to show you this card in Google Photos here. And so if you look, I have a A2 card there that's in kind of a landscape style, and then I created a background with just a Doris embossing folder that I ran through my Cuttlebug, and then of course I have my elements on there, and then the little sentiment strip I just cut on my paper trimmer and flagged with a scissors and stamped with some tiny sentiments from Simon Says Stamp, and I think that overall it turned out really cute. The neat thing is that I don't have a lot of materials invested in this. I just used things that I already had on hand. This paper, the red snowflake paper, is from Cartabella, and it's a Christmas collection, and I have a lot of it left over that I can use for more cards. And I will link a couple of books down in the description box for you. One of them is 101 Creative Card Sketches by Gloria Pouch, and this is a Kindle book, and I have used this and referred to this time and time again. It's a little bit of an older book. It's not going to give you any fancy techniques or anything, but it does give you some neat layouts for cards, and that's one of the things that I like to do, is just put my own spin on some of those card sketches that are in that book. Another book that I use a lot is Card Sketches for Paper Crafters, and this one was put out a number of years ago by Paper Crafts magazine, and I'm fortunate enough to have it at my local library, and I have checked it out again and again and again, and there's just some really neat cards in there that are simple and easy to create, and lots of inspiration there for you if you're interested in paper crafts. So those are just a few things that I wanted to share with you before I got started at making this card. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the little scalloped square, and you can go back to the scalloped rectangle video if you'd like. I'm going to be kind of repeating that in this video for you, and I'll try to make it as quickly and easy as I can, but it's just a neat way to make an element for your cards. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to this panel, and I'm going to grab the ellipse tool, and I'm going to hold down my shift key, and I'm just going to drag out a perfect circle, and I'm going to go to my scale panel, or transform, I guess. Sometimes I call it scale, but this is the scale part of the transform panel. And I'm going to lock this, and I'm going to make this 0.5. So now I have a circle that is a half an inch, and that's excuse me. And in the end, this is going to end up bigger than what I have here, but I'm going to scale it down then and make it into the right size for the card. So what I'm going to do is open up the replicate panel and go to be able to select my copies for replicating here, and let's just move this a little bit. But I'm going to replicate 7 copies of this, and I'm going to replicate it to the right. And so let's just put here, that's going to give me 8 circles total. And let's select that, and let's just replicate that to the right. And now I'm going to select all of these by dragging over them, and I'm going to group them. And you don't have to group them if you leave them selected, but it just makes it a lot easier when we get to the end. Now I'm going to replicate the same amount below because I want a square. And so let's replicate. And now that gives me all these circles. I'm going to group them, and I'm going to go to my offset panel, and I'm going to offset, and let's do 0.02, click apply, and now I can move my little circle array away, and I have my scalloped rectangle here, or scalloped square, excuse me, but I still have all these little diamond things in the center, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to right click, release compound path, and now I can move this out of the way, delete all of those little diamonds, and I'm left with my scalloped square. Now, one thing I like to do in Silhouette Studio is if I make something, I like to make a copy of it so that I have it for reference, or if I have to go back and start something over. Here with these are actually knockouts, and we're going to do this little Christmas tree knockout, and so I want an extra copy of this. So I'm going to hold down my Alt key in Windows, and I'm going to just drag my copy over to there. And let's call that the green one, because we're going to make a Christmas tree now, and we're going to do like a knockout design for the white square. So let's go ahead and create our Christmas tree for our design, and I'm going to make a rectangle. And size doesn't totally matter here. You want something that you can align to the grid, and I'm going to click on this so that I can point at it. I'm going to add a point in the center at the top, and then delete and delete, and now I'm left with a triangle. So now I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to grab the Draw a Polygon tool. So this is like a freehand polygon, and I'm going to put a point at the top of my triangle, and I'm just going to go down here and drop a few points. And really the triangle is for a reference point. And then you want to just line up the other side and using your grid as a reference point. And I'm not going to worry about it if I have this perfect. But when you're doing yours, you can make it the way you want. Okay, so I can remove my reference triangle, and I can draw a rectangle for the trunk of my tree. And I can drag over both of these and align in the center and weld. And now I have my Christmas tree drawn. And I'm going to, let's see, and just for reference, I'm just going to color it here. And I want to put it in the middle of my little scalloped square. And so I resized it, and I did that. And I'm going to center it up here. And now I can go to Object, Modify, Subtract, and that knocks out that Christmas tree, and now I just have this little element here. And let's send this guy to the back and select both of these, and we can align those for our design. Now obviously this is a lot bigger, so let's select these, go to our scale panel, and I made these at 1.5 and 1.5, and now that is the same size as what I made them over here in Silhouette, or for my card. Sorry. Sometimes it's hard for me to think and do at the same time. I don't have an entire script written, and so sometimes I can get a little bit lost in what I'm doing. So now I'm going to make a rectangle, and I'm not going to worry too much about size. Let's just color that. I can go to my transform panel, and let's make it 5.25 by 1.5. And I can close that out. Okay, so now I have my little scalloped border that I want to make. So I'm going to create a circle. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and drag that out into a perfect circle. And let's scale that to, we'll lock that and go 0.5. Now I'm going to go to my offset panel and create an internal offset for that. And I'm going to click on this or drag over this, and I'm going to make a compound path. Now this is 5¼ inches, and in the end I want this to be my scalloped border to also be 5¼ inches, and so we'll have to resize that. But for right now, let's go to our replicate panel and replicate 10 copies of that to the right, and let's group them. And now let's go to the transform panel again and make that 5.25. And let's line those up to our rectangle here. And once we have that done, I'm going to drag over all of this and hit weld. And now I have my scalloped border for my little tree elements. And sometimes what I like to do is just hit simplify. That takes out a few of those editing points, and it makes, I think, for possibly a little bit smoother cut. And so that's how I created the rectangle with the scalloped border for my design. Now obviously we're going to cut more of these. I can take both of these and grab my Alt key and make my duplicates. And of course, you know, align these to my mat where I need them to be for cutting out on my colored cardstock or pattern cardstock or whatever I decide to use. And that's it. If you wanted to make a little flag for your card to stamp on, you could certainly do that, and you could go to my point editing video and you could check out some different point editing techniques for making that. But basically that's just a rectangle that you point edit, and then you could size it to the size you want. I sort of did that a little bit in reverse when I created the triangle for my Christmas tree, but check out some of those other videos for some of those techniques. And I assembled my card using some art glitter glue, which has become my favorite product for making these things, and I will also leave a link to that in the description box below. If you haven't used art glitter glue for putting together your cards, you're going to love this stuff, and to me it's a lot more permanent than using the tape runner adhesive. So again, I thank you for your time. I hope that this inspires you to start creating some Christmas cards. If you don't like this design, there's probably some other inspiration out there, and these are just some techniques that you can use for creating some elements for your homemade Christmas cards. Again, if you like what you see in these videos, I invite you to hit the subscribe button so that you'll be notified of any new videos that come out. And if you like this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up so that other people are more likely to notice this content. So have a great time crafting, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.